In this video, we'll look at another way we can do iteration, and that's using for loops. So the for loop has a header that consists of three components, and one of those is the initialization, and then we have the Boolean expression, and the third component is the increment. And note that this can be a decrement also, so you may have I minus minus, where I is decreased after each iteration. So in this program, we'll calculate the sum of this list of numbers, and we've declared this as an integer array, and we'll look at arrays later on, but for now you can visualize this as a list of numbers. And we index each number in this list from 0, 1, 2, and so on. And note that we initialized an integer called sum to store the result. So the sum is initially equal to 0. Now in the for loop, where we have the initialization, I is initially set to 0 before the first Boolean expression is evaluated. And this variable I is called the loop control variable. So I is initialized to 0, and 0 is less than the length of the list, which is 6, as we have 6 numbers in a list. So this is true, and the code statement in the loop body is executed. So here the number at index 0 is equal to 4, so 4 is added to the sum, and then assigned to the sum. So therefore the sum now has a value of 4. So after the code statements in the body of this loop are executed, then the increment statement is executed. So here I is incremented to 1. And then the Boolean expression is evaluated again. So now that I is 1, 1 is less than 6, which is true, then this statement is executed again, where the number at index 1 in this list gets added to the result. So here we have 4 plus 3, which is 7. And then I is incremented again, and the Boolean expression is evaluated again, and this process continues until this expression evaluates to false, where we exit the loop, and then this code statement gets executed. So this should output sum using the for loop, plus the value of the sum, which is the sum of these numbers being 31. Now a for loop can also be written into an equivalent while loop, and vice versa. So as we can see, when we calculate the sum using the while loop, we initialize the sum again to 0, and we have the initialization done in a separate step outside the loop. And the Boolean expression is evaluated in a loop header, and the increment is executed as a code statement in the body of the loop. So this is the difference between the while loop and the for loop, where all these three components are in a loop header in the case of a for loop. So we've been through this while loop in a previous video, and once this Boolean expression is false, then we exit the while loop, and this code statement is executed, which prints the following result to the screen, where the sum also evaluates to 31. So note that we can get off by 1 errors in a for loop, and these occur when the iteration statement loops one time too many or one time too few. So for example, if our Boolean expression is I is less than or equal to numList.length, then you get an additional iteration statement, which indexes the number outside this list and causes a runtime error, being an index out of bounds error.